The big move. In 2003, my hometown of Haverhill, Massachusetts flooded and my mother lost her house. We were forced to find something very quickly and made the 45-mile journey to a city called East Boston. Moving to East Boston when I was 7 years old was a very new experience for me. I was starting my first day of elementary school at the Bradley Elementary, which was in a different part of this brand new city in which I did not live in. My first day of school, I was having a very hard time adjusting to the new environment because there were kids from everywhere and it wasn't what I had been used to. They made fun of my curly hair and freckles, calling me names. This was such a new place for me, and the initial greeting I had got made me never want to go back to school, let alone live in East Boston any longer. I had previously lived in a suburban complex and the atmosphere was completely different. There wasn't as many people around and businesses around. We didn't have a very large variety of people. There was a very high Caucasian and Asian population, and you rarely saw people who were outside of those races, and if you did, they were a minority. In this new community, I saw people from every background. There was a very high Spanish and Muslim population. When moving to East Boston, it was a culture shock. All of a sudden, I was surrounded with people from every background and every different type of religion, and I was not used to it. Kids who had lived in different lives than me due to growing up in the city. I was desensitized to everyday struggles that came with living in the city, and it was astonishing to me that people didn't have dishwashers in their house and other luxury items because I did not grow up with the same struggles with people who grew up in that area. So I would ask rude questions to people, but I didn't think that they were rude. I was only curious as to why they did not have all these things that I grew up with. At the time, I was 7 years old and didn't realize that this was the case, and just realized that living in the city meant being different. My first day of school, I came home, and once I saw my mom, I started crying, and I told her I did not want to live here anymore. The move wasn't easy on my family either, but I felt as though it got me the worst because my mom was used to the city and my little brother was only 2 years old. She carefully explained to me that it was necessary for us to move here in order for us to be able to get to her job easier, and because our house flooded. I was so upset and felt like it was unfair to me. I had gotten moved out of the place that I loved to come and grown to come my home. This new place was new and I thought didn't accept me. At this point, I felt so powerless because I couldn't do anything but pout. I didn't have any other options but to accept what was happening to me, to adjust this new experience and environment to something that I wasn't used to. I felt as though I deserved a say in what was happening in my life and with my life, so I went to my mom and made a list as to why we should not live here anymore. My number one thing on that list was school. Next, I put the environment that we lived in. I said the city was not clean. Third, I declared that it was too busy and crowded, but last not least, I did not like the sound of the train that woke me up in the morning. And even though I was making strides to get my mom to listen, and even though I was trying to move, it was no use. She would not budge, and she did not take my list into consideration. I felt like what I had to say didn't matter because it was very clear that I didn't want to live there, and she did not acknowledge it. She came back with the response that I am only 7 years old and it will grow on me, and I just have to have an open mind and be accepting of new things and situations, even if I didn't like them, because I can make it my own. Even though I agreed with what my mom said, I still didn't want to live there. Eventually, I got used to it and got very sad when I found out we were moving to Salem, Massachusetts.